Welcome back, students. Summer 2020 Virtual Melt University. I don't know what to say. What an amazing summer that we've shared together, that you have provided for me. Hopefully, we've provided for you. I cannot believe we're in week 8. It's a very emotional day for me. I was Barry Manilow's song. Probably haven't heard of Barry Manilow, but I was like, looks like we made it. It's just amazing. So first of all, thank you so much for providing one of the greatest periods of my life. Such fulfillment, enjoyment, the feedback. We're gonna cover a lot of ground today. Got a lot of ground to cover. A lot of exciting news to share with you. Also, I'll remind you, the ones who we're gonna do some call outs today. But the ones that are going to get to the top of the heap are going to be the ones that I'm going to get a nice written thank you note from. Of course, I knew I don't have to tell you that. We've talked about that a lot. So welcome. This is not the end. It's only the beginning of the next phase. I'm excited to tell you that, the book coming out September the 15th. I'm excited to tell you that this Monday, we will begin a new weekly newsletter aimed at you. We're going to make sure we get all your emails. I'm sure we have them. I want you to share it with your friends, but it's going to be a weekly newsletter promoting other podcasts. We're going to continue the podcast. We're going to continue talking about the book, but this newsletter is going to be chock full of career tips, career advice, internship advice, virtual internship advice, virtual Zoom interview advice, everything that you're going to need to continue to equip yourself for the jobs and the internships in a post-COVID world. We're going to get through this. We're getting through this together. But I firmly believe that it's probably never going to sort of be the same, whether it's us going to football games, whether it's going to concerts, whether it's coming actually into an office or a virtual office. I think we're all having to alter a lot of things that we're doing. But I want to tell you that thank you so much for just an amazing, fulfilling summer. Also, whether it's in a live format or a virtual format, if you want me to come speak to your classes or your career development days, your career fairs, or on a Zoom or whatever, or anything I can do personally, let me know on that. Also, a lot of other exciting things. We're going to do some virtual career fairs coming up. We're going to continue to do align you with corporations for jobs through the podcast, and so many other amazing opportunities that we're going to create for you. But you're the ones that created it for me and for us. And I would be remiss if I didn't give a special shout out to the team, the Melt U team. David Culberson, who's been with me since 2003, creative director David Cohn, an amazing guy, been with me several years, brilliant video producer. You're going to see a lot more videos and things coming up. Zach Cates, shout out to Zach, shout out to Sammy Bain, shout out to Gigi, amazing job. Shout out to Travis and Sarah, the Melt team, Susie Good, who tries to keep me straight, financial house in order. As well. The next thing I'm excited to, so thank you, special thank you to them. It really, really means a lot, all the support. We are also going to begin starting our virtual Melt Ambassador program. So whether or not you go back to campus, and even when you're on campus, we will begin working with you collaboratively to help promote our products and our clients and our services, like the Coca-Cola Company, like Kia, Hershey's, Mondelez, and a lot of other people that we work with. And you will be the face of Melt U on the brand campus. You're going to educate more students. We want you to continue to sign more of your students and more classmates up. Those referrals are amazing. We want to hear feedback from you on what you want to hear from us. Okay. So we want to know what we can do to make it better. We want input from you to like, hey, I want to know about this. I need to know about this. Tell me about this, these types of things, because we don't have all the answers. We need to know what you need. So give us great feedback on that. So how we can better engage with you. And hopefully we're going to turn these things into a lot of paid gigs as well. So like I said, this is not the end. this is just the beginning. But I will tell you, like I said, shout out to the team and shout out to you, the students, for making this just amazing. So, so even though, as we said, the 8 weeks are up, we're still going to continue the podcast series. We're going to evolve into video YouTube series, lecture series, lunch and learn series. This thing's going to grow. We've got the newsletter coming out. We've got the book coming out, but we've got some tremendous podcasts coming up for you. Kevin Eastman, famous coach and author. David McKillips, CEO of Chuck E. Cheese. Shout out to Chuck E. Cheese. Blake Lawrence, Open Doors. We talked about Open Doors. We talked about the future of NIL. Got a lot coming up on that. How you can help your fellow students and student athletes on campus. Mark Charty, famous Hollywood producer. TJ Abrams, a leader at Intercontinental Hotel Group. Talked about future career opportunities there. Rick Anderson of the PGA Tour. Dina Gerson, what an amazing podcast we did a couple days ago with the Grand Dame of Olympic sports marketing at the Coca-Cola Company for 30 years. Amazing insights, amazing path as well. And shout out to the top podcast from you, The Vote. And we've had amazing podcasts, and they're all my favorites. But Tracy Wolfson of CBS, what was an amazing interview. Seth Freeman, former CMO of Buffalo Wild Wings, and then the great guy David Pollack of ESPN. But thank you so much to all of our podcasters, and I'm hearing from them that you are writing notes to them, reaching out on LinkedIn. Continue to do that because they are responding. They are impressed with that. And as we continue the podcast series, so our goal, I think we're going to probably wind up doing over 200 podcasts over the next 12 months. And so he keep helping us promote it, retweet it, repost it, either at Vinny Inc. or at Melt ATL on all of our social media handles as well. But we appreciate all of our podcast participants. Yesterday was a great day. Jordan Bajant, one of the top talent agents, player agents and broadcast agent, Troy Aikman's agent, among others in the country. Craig Silver, the greatest college football, live football producer for CBS, in the world. Hopefully he'll have some games to produce this fall. Tomorrow, Tim Zulawski, head of revenue for all of Arthur Blank Companies, who the Falcons, the United, the Dome, the Ben's Dome, and others, and Rachel Boucher, I love that name, executive editor of Event Marketer magazine, who will share some great industry insights on where there are other opportunities in the event business. I would be remiss to not shout out our intern coordinators. Carson Rains, thank you so much. Amazing job. Elliot Freeman, thank you so much. And Roberto Goizueta, just amazing job. Shout out to the gang. And I want to give some special shout outs to all of you participants, but also some tremendous participants as well. Katie Dunn, you've been amazing. Sam Kelson, Q, my man, Quentin Rodriguez, Brennan Cook over in Birmingham, thank you so much. Abby Woodard, great feedback. Jameson Gaddis, Colin Schollard, Montana Irwin, we communicated earlier today. Shout out War Eagle to you, and as well as Juliana Tyrell. Shout out at War Eagle to you as well. And I'm going to just read you a couple little excerpts before we get into the book. Montana Irwin was motivated to reach out to the AJGA Junior All-Star Golf Tournament in Auburn, Opelika, snagged a gig with Pat. Looked at her, resume and all these things this morning, and pushed her out of her comfort zone. It was just amazing. Colin Schollard, amazing testimonial, finding your zeal, pushing yourself out of the comfort zone. I'm hearing from so many of you that are telling me that, hey, you helped me identify my passion. You helped push me out of your comfort zone. You helped me take that risk. I was corresponding with one of you today out of Kansas where you're like, hey, I took that shot, and it turned into a really good opportunity. In fact, here it is right here. Sammy Krinsky, shout out to Sammy. Taking to heart all the excellent advice. I've worked putting myself in the top 5%. Recently, I applied for a student job at my university's athletic department, UK. Rock Chalk had Danny Manning in last week. What started out as an interview became an actual job offer. So those are the things that I love the most. And speaking of other success stories, because one day we're going to be highlighting you on the success panel. 3 of my favorite former Melt University alumni, graduates who've gone on to great things. Una Peacock, here's a great story, was introduced to me through a friend of her family's, the O'Neills in Atlanta. And the O'Neills, Tim O'Neill, was my fraternity brother many, many years ago at Auburn. And so Una worked her way through those channels, through those emotional connections. We talked about mining that low-hanging fruit. Came to me from the University of South Carolina, really knocked it out of the park in 17, and then spent tremendous 2 to 3 years with us, and now as a content strategist at Stripe Reputation, a great crisis management agency. My man, Ryan Watts, shout out to Ryan. Let me tell you a perfect example of how these things work. Carter and I, several years ago, were in the Nike store in Lenox Square, and this really impressive gentleman came up and helped us with the selection. We started talking, and he told me about, he's an athlete, Alabama State University. He was impressive. He looked me in the eye. I said, hey, what do you want to do? He said, I want to be in sports marketing. And I said, well, wow, this is your lucky day. I always take a business card with me. Hey, reach out when you can. He immediately followed up, came in 2014, and spent several years working for me. I love Ryan. He's like a son to me as well. And now got a great job with Intercontinental Hotels Group. Met the clients, worked the clients. They were impressed with him, brought it on. Another great story, Ben May Jr., Ben May Sr., whom dear friend for many, many years. There's another example of how this all works. Ben May Sr. Is a senior executive with the SEC Network, owned by ESPN, based in Birmingham. His son, Ben May Jr., was at Auburn, working at the Auburn Sports Network. And he said, hey, and then by the way, this was back in 2012 where we were just kind of really kind of growing. And I said, hey, send him over, and like father, like son. And I knew that he was sort of a thoroughbred. He was born to run. And we spent the whole summer together really cultivating his talent. We worked together on the big Gulf Shores Orange Beach SEC campaign, which was amazing. Go back and look at those spots. The first job out of Auburn was at the IMG College, South Carolina Gamecock Sports Marketing Network. He learned a lot there. And now he is an account executive with the Engine Shop, which is a very similar to Melt, a competitor as well. But this is how this is how it works. And so let's talk a little bit about Chapter 8. I can't believe it. Building brand new, bring the heat. Here's an article, story you should look up on the Wall Street Journal. The surprising strategy for acing a job interview. And if you read through this, and we'll repost it in our newsletter as well, it talks about a lot of the same things that we're teaching, which really only reinforces that we're doing the right thing here. So today I'm going to talk about Chapter 8 really quick, bring the heat. Now we're going to talk about this in a different context now, because in this new COVID world and post-COVID world, what are the things that we say? That we say that it's going to be a very tough job market. Entry-level job market was already tough. That's why we're giving you all these tools here. But it's going to be even tougher because, companies, particularly marketing services, are, we've been impacted pretty tremendously as well. But it's going to be tough in the entry-level job market. Why is that? Well, first of all, you're going to have more people in it because you got more unemployed people in marketing services who are going to be willing to take lesser jobs at a lesser wage. So it's going to depress that market. It's going to be what we call a buyer's market in talent or anything like that. But the other challenge is, will you actually be able to get in front of that person? Like, will you be able to come to somebody's office, have that one-on-one job interview? If you can cut through all the clutter and all of that, will you be able to actually get to office? You might not. Like our office is technically, physically not reopened right now. So we're going to talk about some tips on the Zoom interview. We're going to talk tips about the Zoom interview with either for a job or for an intern program, if you get to that point, because it's going, but the same principles and the same standards are going to apply. And then in the conclusion, we're going to talk about keeping the job that you get. Like I said, it's kind of one of my pet peeves within your generation. There tends to be instant gratification. That doesn't work. Got to pay your dues. I mean, you got a unicorn every now and then, and a Mark Zuckerberg or something like that. Also, the grind, stay in a job long enough to kind of, just kind of get to know it. It's like kind of being in any relationship. You can't make a judgment on a relationship and the long-term future of it in, 2 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, or something like that. And that same standard applies in all of your professional life and all your professional relationships as well. And this axiom is going to be even more important based on what's going to happen in the job market. So, but I am very bullish on your opportunities, because as I've always told you, you are the most sophisticated consumer. You are the most sophisticated marketer because of the social media, because of the technology, because of the wireless and mobile devices. So there's going to be tremendous opportunities for you. And we've uncovered them. We've uncovered tremendous opportunities. Like I said, the aha I had was, hey, there's opportunities in mental health within athletic departments. There's opportunities within compliance because of the new rules coming out with the name, image, and likeness of student athletes. There are new opportunities in data and fan analytics within season ticket holders. And obviously there's going to be a lot of pressure on those types of things, because are we going to have sports? Are people going to buy tickets? Are they going to want to come back to the stadium? Are they going to be able to afford those tickets? Would they rather stay in the safety of their own home with, televisions, things? And so then does that create other opportunities for in-home viewing occasions? So chapter 8, bring the heat. We've talked about bringing the heat. We've talked about what gets Vince Thompson's attention. When you show up in the office in the old days, you weren't in shorts and flip-flops like I am today. This is an audition. This would be no different if you were auditioning for a singing spot or an acting spot or a play spot or anything. This job and intern process is a rolling audition, as we talked about for the last 8 weeks. And so you got to bring the heat. And so even if it's in a Zoom environment, all of these standards are going to continue to apply. Okay. So when you're doing a Zoom interview or in a real office setting, always, you don't have to have a coat and tie on, but it would not hurt, particularly in a Zoom interview, and you pop up there and you got this, really nice blouse on or top or coat and tie, but even a nice collared shirt with a jacket on or something like that. Think about that impression that you're making. Don't look like that, obviously you've just rolled out of bed on those things. Even in the Zoom or live environment, always look in the eye, right? Be prepared, know your target. And we're going to talk, we'll talk about the finish line in just a minute. The other thing is be prepared, know your target. Also backdrop. Backdrop is real important. So, if you went to Auburn, you can put yourself a nice backdrop. If you work at Melt, you can have a nice backdrop there. Whatever it is, but have a nice backdrop. Have it in an area, if you can, that is as quiet as possible. We know there's going to be barking dogs and all those kind of things as well, but have it in that environment, and then make sure that you shut your phone down, because you don't want to be kind of looking down and up and looking down and up, during this process. And like I said, it's going to be kind of even more tenuous and more stressful if you're not able to come in a live environment. How you make this impression with this camera and setting this whole thing up is going to be really, really important. So step one, we talked about this and we talked about it ad nauseum. Do your homework, know your target. So let's say you know about Melt, you know about our success and who we work with, you know about my background and my career, and you know everything that you can know about the job or internship you're applying for. And that would be, like I said, either a live or a virtual environment, because every step of this process is an audition. That segues into be prepared. So the definition of preparation is not only knowing the subject matter, it's also the physical preparation of it as well. So, it's only as important as you make it. So even if you're in a virtual environment or live environment, this audition process is you're showing each step of the way the type of employee that you will make to that employer. Because as we talked about, we're going to make a major investment in you. And even in particularly now, when so many businesses and industries, whether it's travel or tourism, or athletics or sports marketing, you've heard right now how rough it is. It's going to come back. It will come back. It may take a day or two, but this is all about putting yourself in the position to win. And so, and again, we used to call being dressed in your Sunday best. When you put your church clothes on, you go to church and those types of things. And I now know that, the environment is a lot looser now. I got a t-shirt on today during the podcast and the video cast and all that kind of stuff. But during this process, like I said, at least bring the heat and like I said, you don't make coat and tie or fancy blouse or all that. But the other thing is too, is if you're either in a live or virtual environment, figure out a way to showcase your resume during that interview. And also figure out, if you are in a live or virtual environment and don't have your resume, bring the resume with you or figure out a way to get it to that person. Don't assume that they still have it from the first time. I've seen kids make that mistake. They'll come to the interview. They assume I have the resume. I don't have the resume. They don't have the resume. So always bring it. And then if you've got anything else that you want to showcase, little portfolio, brochures, samples of your work, those types of things, just always come prepared. And I know this kind of goes without saying, but I'm going to talk about it just a little bit because it's another pet peeve of mine. Always be polite and courteous in these interactions. I know everybody's kind of on an edge right now because of what we're going through with the virus and the lockdowns and the uncertainty. That's understandable, but there still is a great place for politeness and common courtesy. I love it when somebody says, "Hey, Mr. Thompson," and then I say, "Hey, don't call me Mr. Thompson, call me Vince." But it always, those little subtle cues and those little subtle hints add up to big cues and big hints. Because as I said, during the audition process, you're talking about how you're going to be as an employee. And I've seen some really good kids torpedo themselves by being rude and abrasive to the person that was sitting at my front desk, the greeter, who's just amazing people that are the first face of Melt. I'm even more shocked when they are not nice to my personal assistant or my gatekeeper, because that's the person I probably interact with more during the day is my personal assistant than anybody. So that means that they have a tremendous amount of input and influence on what I see and hear and do and who I see and hear and do. And so don't underestimate being polite, being courteous. No, sir. Yes, sir. No, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Know the person that's arranging the interview. Know the person that's greeting you at the front door. Know the receptionist. Know the personal assistant. Follow through with them as well, because they, believe it or not, have a lot of impact on the person you're trying to target for an interview or for a job. I know in my case it does, and I know that I've won a lot of business by being polite, courteous, even to that front desk person, to that gatekeeper, because particularly now, do not underestimate the input or the influence that all of those people have. So, and that's a red flag, as a huge red flag as well. And the last thing is turn off the effing phone. If you get the chance to have a virtual interview or a virtual internship interview or even a live one, just shut the whole dadgum phone down. You don't want the risk of a ring. You don't want, group me going on. You don't want to be caught looking down at the phone, whether it's, because by the way, if you get to the point of getting this job interview virtually or live, to me, that's the most important thing you have going on in your life at that time, at that moment. Nothing else on the phone short of a family of emergency. Okay. And so, these small little subtle cues. And even if you got your phone, at a Zoom interview and you're looking down and looking up and at it, that's going to be a major turnoff. That's what we call a cardinal sin. And then step 5, win the interview. Win the interview. What do I mean by that? Well, some of these are common sense and some are not. Obviously, in any encounter, it's about chemistry, it's about connection, and it all begins with that first eye-to-eye contact, right? In any interaction that you have. And so some people are shyer than others, and they may not be able to do that, but practice that. And when you're in a virtual or live interview, do role play, whether it's with your parents or your siblings or your friends, or even with yourself in the mirror. I do a lot of that as I prepare for speeches and things of that nature. So it's okay to role play because you're going to put yourself into winning that interview. The next step is, we say it over and over again, know your target. Target is defined as the company. The target is defined as the person that you're interviewing with. Know about them. Look for emotional cues, pictures and kind of things in the office, where they went to school, those kind of things. Know all about the job or internship that you are applying for. Know everything about it and ask educated questions. And then the last piece is, what type of value can you bring to that job or that opportunity to that person or that organization? We've heard it over and over again. What value do you add or bring to that organization? And like I said, my biggest pet peeve is I get these blind resumes, these generic resumes. Hey, it's Joe Smith, attaches my resume and I need to make X dollars. What happens? Immediately they flush, right? So, because they're showing me what kind of employee they're going to be immediately, as opposed to, dear Mr. Thompson, War Eagle, great work at Mel. Hope you're weathering the crisis. I see you have a posting for this. Here's how my experience will bring value to you in the organization, because we're making an investment in you, which in return we want value for. So those are some tips. And again, many of your parents and your parents' friends, they run companies, they're executives, they have big jobs. When you have an opportunity to engage with them, and you probably do now because a lot of us are at home and there's different types of family engagement, talk to them about some of these opportunities. Talk to them about some of these tips, and even have some fun, role play with them as well, because chances are they're in the same position that I am of hiring and firing and evaluating talent and all this type of stuff. So that's all part of winning this interview process. And also, don't forget to thinking about playing to the emotional and ego part of that person. Find out, if you can see images on social media or Facebook or the bios, like some personal things. Are they a dog lover? Do they like to exercise? Do they compete in triathlons or whatever that is? Because you're showing how interested and engaging that you are. So when that interview is a big thing, is, again, know your target. One of the funny tricks that's always played on me is they get me talking about myself, shocker, and enough about me, let's talk about me some more. But I use the same things when I'm pitching a prospect. By the way, the tips I'm sharing with you are the same tips and tricks that I practice when I'm winning new business and we're winning new business for Mel. It's called interviewing the interviewer. Know everything about it, because, right before the pandemic hit, I had a pitch, or not a pitch, but a meeting with the chief marketing officer, Intercontinental Hotel Group. And I knew he was a famous hotel marketing guy. I knew he had come out of New York. I learned that he was commuting back and forth from New York to Atlanta. So 10 minutes of the conversation was me asking him about his career and his climb and his path and how he was handling this with his family. And like I said, this is sort of pre-pandemic. We're right on the cusp. I was actually the Friday before, believe it or not, the Friday the 13th, I'll note. So we talked, we really did not talk a lot about business opportunities because I really wanted to know him. I wanted to know what went into his thinking process when those opportunities came back. I wanted to know how he was coping. And when we get back together, and here's another thing that you need to understand and you need to think about, like everybody coming out of this pandemic and this COVID are going to have their own personal good stories or stories. And those are good conversation and talking points to think about. You know, like, you know, hey Vince, how did you manage the post-COVID? Well, we were able to pivot our internship virtually. I was able to get my book written, or, you know, I was able to exercise more. So those types of things, you're building that common ground in there because we're all going to have those stories, right? And so you're looking to win that interview. You're looking to find that common ground. You know, I did the same thing 35 years ago. Had an opportunity to apply at a great PR firm in Birmingham, ad agency. Obviously, I had already been fired from my first job. Shout out to Colonial Bank. I had on a failed political campaign for governor. I needed this job, and I researched everything about this job and everything about this agency and everything about this founder. I knew he'd gone to University of Alabama. I knew he started the agency from scratch. I knew they had a lot of outdoor recreation clients, fishing clients. I knew I loved to fish, and so I wove in me and my love of fishing with my portfolio and my love of writing and my love of the outdoors into that interview. So I put myself in the position to win that interview. I became the perfect candidate for that job because I had a great love for the outdoors. I demonstrated I knew everything about the job and that position with the company. I knew they needed to pump out press releases. And then I had that portfolio to prove that I, in fact, could pump out those press releases. And I even had a handful of my portfolios made up. Back then in the day, it's costly now. It was very, very costly then because there was just very few copying machines, as we call them, Xerox machines, as we call them. But I had a few that I was able to leave behind. Now in a virtual environment, you'd be able to put that in a PDF format, zip it up, get it to that person, and it will be a heck of a lot less expensive. You also have the beautiful tools to put these things together. I'm seeing a lot of your resumes. I'm seeing some of them are still in Word document format. And by the way, they're great in that format, but there's so many more beautiful, visually pleasing formats to put that resume in. And again, keep it to one page, brief and concise. You don't have enough to shout out anyway. I think Quentin showed me the first time his resume was like 20 pages, which was amazing. We got it down to one or two as well. The next step is be flexible. What do I mean by that? I got to tell you this crazy story. So this great job candidate came in and really kind of lit me up and perfect for the job and very impressive and had the right background. And so I said, you know, hey, I really like what I'm hearing, but I'd like you to meet several of my other senior executives because they also have input on the hiring process and how they're going to fit the team and those types of things. And I said, I'd like you to stick around. I'm going to pull them out of some meetings and meet them. And the candidate said, well, you know, actually, I got to go. And I go, wow, okay. And so now maybe there was a situation where they had to go. But my point is be very flexible in this process because and build time into the process. If you've worked all the way to get to this point, virtually or live, you're at the goal line. And then you got to go somewhere, build the time in because that additional 30 minutes or an hour that candidate could have taken, they would have been offered a job either pretty much on the spot or right thereafter. So lesson to the wise, be flexible in this process. Particularly now, it's going to be in home. It's going to be Zoom. They're going to schedule's going to change 9 million times. We've got typically if you go into somebody's office during a work day, as a structure of a day, they're in the morning, they take a lunch break, they work in the afternoon. There's a flow, or there's a cadence, or there's a structure, and all of that's out the board now. So flexibility is the key. And as we said, referrals. What is the lowest hanging fruit in here? It's the emotional connection. It's the friends of the connection. It's the family connection. It's the mutual alumni connection. It's the sponsors of the school's election. Do that research, go deep. And here's another trick of the trade, and Dina Gerson is going to talk about it in her podcast, and we've talked about it as well. Never go out or leave any form of an interview without a couple of additional names or contacts. It's kind of like building a pyramid. You follow what I'm saying? Like, hey, Mr. Thompson, if you guys don't have anything available, I really would like to apply at the Atlanta Falcons. Okay. I know Tim Zulowski. Reach out to Tim. Here's his email. Tell him we talked. You got that referral. You got that lead. He's probably going to respond in a positive manner. Steve Koonin, Atlanta Hawks. Mike Plant, Atlanta Braves. I've built these relationships many, many years. So always try to connect those dots or put those pieces together, because it will make you're warming the lead up. You're warming the target up. You're softening the target. Hey, Mr. Zulowski, I was talking to Vince Thompson, and he suggested that I reach out to you for this position with the Atlanta Falcons. I know you've got a great Melt-U alumni there, Abby Farrick. I think this is how I could bring value to the revenue side, or selling tickets, or those types of things as well. So never leave those connections and network building and relationship building on the table. And as we talked about, that's the lowest hanging fruit. Your family, your friends, your alumni, and those types of things as well. And the odd thing is that those may be right in front of you. So those are the most obvious ones. Sometimes the most obvious answers to the questions are sitting right in front of you. So for instance, Brennan Cook, I'm very good friends with her parents in Birmingham, and she has an aspiration to get in this industry and thing. And so through her parents, she reached out to me. Well, of course I'm going to respond to her, because her parents have been my dear friends for many, many years. And that's how those types of relationships will work. So begin making your list of that low hanging fruit, because even before you get back to school, because you're going to be surprised at where that low hanging fruit is. And also, we talked about scanning your alumni publications and online publications. I'll use Auburn as a perfect example. If you're scanning and reading, not only are you going to be reading about alumni like, say, Tim Cook of Apple, but you'll know they're building a giant world-class culinary school at Auburn. It's a $100 million project. You think how many opportunities there are going to be within that. So begin understanding that. Now, and even if you're not going to study culinary marketing, there's going to be hotels and breweries and all those types of things there. So be on the lookout for those, little nuggets or Easter eggs. Also, as we talked about, reading all these publications, you've heard from some great people. You're going to hear from some many more. But when you're reading these articles, find the names of those people who have been quoted in those articles. I do a lot of new business mining that way myself, by the way. So those are little tricks of the trade of what I call these referrals. Hey, Mr. Thompson, I saw you quoted in the Sports Business Journal. Great job. I'd like some career advice, not even necessarily, and Dina's going to talk about this on the podcast. You don't have to go in for the kill for the first time. Position it as advice. Position it as an icebreaker. They may not respond because everybody's kind of crazy right now. And as we said, follow up. I hope I get a great thank you note from every one of you. If I don't, I know that maybe you got busy or you forgot, or, you had other priorities come up. Obviously, we're all going crazy trying to figure out, get back to college and all that. But I keep all of those. I file them, I log them. And then when you reach out to me for a referral or a recommendation, you better believe you're going to be in that top 5%. But follow up. So if you do, with the podcast folks, track them down, send them a note. I've had a couple, send me an email and say, hey, can you get this to so-and-so and so-and-so? I do that as well. And I know in fact that Tracy has reached back out to some folks. And then in fact, then she reached out to me saying, hey, will you take a look at this Michigan grad? So think about this constellation or this network and how this all works, but it's all about it's only as important as you make it. Just follow up. hey, Mr. Dinkins, or hey, Miss Wilson, loved you. You can find the Coca-Cola company's mailing address. You can find CBS Sports mailing address. And at some point, they're going to get back to the office, and that's going to get to them. So, so follow up. I can't, and because again, it's all about audition. It's all about impression. It's all about getting to the top of the heap. It's only as important as you make it. And I know it's as old school as it sounds. Get you some nice note cards with your name on them. Send that note. Like I said, if we could have cameras moving, I've got probably 1,000 letters in those drawers there. And because those mean a lot to me, because somebody took that time to acknowledge something that I had done for them. And then even if you don't hear back from somebody for 2, 3, 4 weeks, it's okay to do what I call a polite nudge again. And it may be another nice note. Then it may be an email. It may be a reach out to LinkedIn. Obviously, we talked about LinkedIn a lot. But the first one, I always believe in the old-timey, old-fashioned, old-school note, not a thank you text, written, LinkedIn, and then email, or written, email, LinkedIn. So build those stages, but still kind of you don't have to be formal in what you say, but you're formal in what you do in that process. And then, like I said, polite nudges, you're kind of, being respectful of the time, because sort of you got to examine what that person's under right now. Obviously, we're all under some of these crazy schedules and working from home based on what's going on in the COVID thing. But pre-COVID, if anybody knew about what I did, they would know the 3 weeks in March and early April, I was really busy activating and producing activities to Final Four on behalf of the Coca-Cola company. So they probably would leave me alone during that process. But then coming out of that, they'd say, hey, Mr. Thompson, I know you had a wonderful Final Four. If the dust has settled a little bit, I'd love to follow up with you and seek advice. I always like to position as seeking advice as opposed to I need a job right now, because you kind of, like I said, you're doing this stepping stone, this setup, this process, as well. And again, I heard a lot of comments, be relentless, be relentless, be relentless. And so RE, relentless, relationships, reciprocal, resources. Those are RE words that you're gonna need forever. The 4 Ps. Have pride in yourself, have passion, have patience, have persistence, have perseverance. I guess that's the 5 Ps now as well, because it always takes a lot of this in this world, but it's dang sure going to take a lot of it now. And so in conclusion, if and when you get to this finish line, try to hang on to the job or the internship that you've got for more than a minute, or more than as we say, a hot minute or a cup of coffee, because there's a lot of instant gratification that really does not exist. You're not going to be the CEO overnight unless you decide to start your own business, and then you can be. And then again, odds are, unless you're Mark Zuckerberg, you're not going to be an overnight success. It's going to be a grind. I've been doing this for a very, very long time. And I've gotten to the top, but now with a pandemic and no events and no live events and no sporting events, I mean, effectively we're all sort of starting over. So if I take a risk on you or some of these other people who are starting over or retooling, stay where you are for just like I said, a hot minute. It's like any other relationship. You're not going to really know the long-term possibility of it if you bail out of it in 3 months. There's no way to know. Whether it's a personal relationship, romantic relationship, friendship, professional relationship, job, and those types of things. So patience is probably going to be required. It was always required, but it's now really, really going to be required. One of my favorite quotes of all time is Michael Jordan. I missed 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I was trusted to take the game-winning shot, and I missed. He got told no. He's failed over and over and over again, and that's why he succeeds. He gets knocked off the saddle. He's relentless. If you haven't watched The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, it's a great documentary. It's a great series. But what you see in that is that his just sheer will, his sheer relentlessness, his sheer desire to win, his competitive nature, and he never asked his teammates to do anything that he wasn't willing to do. And so it's a fascinating series and just an amazing tribute. I mean, the guy got cut from his junior high or high school basketball team, for goodness sake. And his parents said, get back up on that saddle, Michael. And, obviously billions later, you see, and, there is a secret to success. I wasn't afraid to get my knees skinned. I wasn't afraid to take that shot. We've talked about all these things. Don't be afraid in this environment. It's going to be daunting. It's absolutely daunting. It was daunting before this pandemic, but it's going to be okay. And as we said, let me reiterate, what business are you in, Vince? I'm in the rejection business. I get told, by the way, last time I saw you, I've been told no by a client. And N-O doesn't spell no. It's the first two letters of not yet. Be relentless. Just keep coming. Don't take it personal. And be relentless in this pursuit. And even now in this virtual environment, you may have an opportunity to really kind of reconfigure how you approach a job or how you approach something with an employer, because I'll tell you this is that if somebody reaches out to me, and even if they don't work for Melt, but they have a good idea that I'm willing to talk to and listen to them about, we're all more willing and flexible now. And even as I told you, even 4 or 5 months ago, ideas I was taking into companies, they would laugh me out. Now they're like, hey, maybe we'll think about this thing again, because everybody's mindset is changing and shifting rapidly and overnight. So even something that you may have tried 6 months ago as it relates to a job or a project or an internship or something like that, or volunteering, or, hey, can I get the word out on a new Coke product, Mr. Dinkins, or work with Melt on that. Be thinking now, because you've got a real shot to sort of rewrite and re-innovate this process. And that's one reason that we're going to continue the newsletter, continue the podcast. We've got an exciting announcement where we're going to come out with a series of video tutorials that you can sign up for, sort of like a format of a master class where you can learn from some of the great ones, like a Shaul Zislin, about how to put on your own music festival. I got a call from one of my former interns, and she wanted to put on her own music festival. She wanted to maybe put on her own golf tournament for fundraising and charity. And so you gotta, there's so much opportunity out there, and we're going to be here to help you navigate through that opportunity and continue to dream big, pursue your passion. And we're going to continue. Those are themes that are going to continue throughout our education. Like I said, this is not the end. It's only the beginning. We're going to continue a relationship with you. We want you to retweet, repost, continue to listen to podcasts, watch the videos, take the newsletter, the book, share with friends, line me up for speakers, and all of that. I think that, again, we're going to have our relationship, whether it's virtual, email. Hopefully one day I get to see you guys. Hopefully one day I get to set you up with ESPN College Game Day and SEC Nation, and put in a good word for you with an athletic director or somebody at the Hangout Music Festival. But this is, in closing this formal session, first of all, thank you. Thank you to the Melt team. I'm so grateful for them. I'm so grateful for your participation. I'm so excited. Like I said, Monday in your email inbox, you're going to have that first Melt You newsletter, new podcast, hot takes on what's going on in the job and career market. I'm constantly scanning, constantly reading on your behalf. And so together, we're going to win, and we're going to continue to be relentless. And so I'm Vince Thompson. What an amazing 8 weeks. Thank you so much. And we'll go to some chats and questions. I got some time. No open questions. Chat. Anybody on the chat? Better get me now, because I see you guys email me and stuff. So you got any questions, hit me now. A lot going on. It is changing every day. Are we going to play college sports in the fall? Are we going to play college football? Today, I think we are, but ask me in an hour, it could change. Colin, you got a question? Oh, wow. That's so nice. No major questions, just a big thank you for all you and your team have done this summer. It means a lot, Colin. Thank you. Kelsey, same thing. Thank you so much for giving your time and resources to us this summer. No, thank you for participating and giving us your time and resources. Give us a nice shout out, a repost, a thank you. Like I said, to the amazing team, Susie, Sarah, Gigi, Travis, Culberson, Nick Black, Zach, Sammy Bain, David Cohn. I mean, all these guys, major labor of love for helping you. And so, guys, it's just been amazing. And I look forward to staying in touch with many of you. Like I said, look out Monday morning. You're gonna have your first great newsletter in there. I've seen some of the work and the copies and the podcast. We're going to continue to share those with you. Katie Dunn, thank you so much for giving me an amazing opportunity to learn and make connections this summer. It means so much. I mean, I'm hearing from so many of you guys. It's just been amazing. It's also been amazing to see you guys grow. And so let's see, Justin, 2-minute thoughts on NIL and NCAA. We've talked about that a lot. I'll talk about it in two ways. It's going to be a tremendous opportunity for the student athletes. It's long overdue. The NCAA did get their hand forced, but it's going to create a lot of opportunities for you because you are a student. You may not be a student athlete. So as you interact with the kids on the campus, you might be able to help them. But the other thing is when these rules do finally get issued, whether they're from Congress or the states or the NCAA or whoever it is, make sure you become familiar with those rules, because you don't want to get yourself or that student athlete in trouble just because you were trying to do something right or help put a little money in your pocket and their money pocket as well. And that's still kind of evolving. Chad, thanks for everything. Enjoyed it. The Q, thanks for everything. Mr. Thompson, learned so much throughout these 8 weeks. Justin, this is the fulfillment and the gratitude that I get. And so I feel like we're all family now. We're friends. I see your resumes. I see how you're putting that virtual Melt U in there. I'm proud that we were all came together and pivoted really fast. We talked about a lot of the big companies that weren't able to pivot as fast as we were in a virtual environment. We're going to continue to pivot. We're going to continue to help those companies. This thing's going to grow into an amazing organization. It's going to be able to help you. I'm committed to maintaining the relationships and those types of things with you as well. And the fact that you've been able to make an impact on mine and my staff's life this summer has been amazing. That I've been able to make an impact on yours, and we will continue to do that. But I just was so excited. I'm now looking back when we first started in week 1, and everybody's like, hey, how's this going to work? How are we going to get through this together? And it's just been this beautiful evolving relationship. Shout out to Tim or one of our, what I call our graduate students. He has taken great advantage of this. So thank you, Tim. Your support has meant a lot. Jameson Gaddis, who is the one sports or business figure that you would like to interview, collaborate, do business with that you haven't yet? That's a great question. I'm going to try to be very aspirational in some of our next podcast guests. And again, and by the way, if you guys have personal relationships with people that you'd like me to interview and be podcast guests, I'd love to have those as well. But I want to try to get to Garth Brooks. I know some of his management. I want to get back to Ryan Seacrest because it's just amazing career enlightenment. Mark Cuban. I want to try to get to Mark Cuban. I want to try to get to Dave Portnoy. We're working on all that, by the way. I want to try to snag LeBron if he's not too busy in the bubble. Obviously, we worked with him many years and several years ago. Those are some of the big targets that we have, and more big targets. Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, amazing lady, lives in Atlanta. So we're really going to try to evolve this thing. And the other thing that we may try to do is we also may try to create our own sort of, like I said, we're going to do virtual career fairs and those types of things. We may even do our own student Shark Tank. Who knows where this thing's really going to go? But again, what I do know is that I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be able to do this with and for you. So in closing, thank you so much. Stay safe. Don't take no. Be relentless. Summer 2020, fall 2020, virtual Melt University. We will continue to roll on. I'm Vince Thompson, and thank you, and I love you.